The DX system has an onboard alarm dialer that can send detailed alarm reports to a central monitoring station. Audible monitoring is also an option to send alerts to a mobile phone. The latest DX panels have a detailed voice alert library to announce alarm details over the phone. Central monitoring is highly recommended and is the most effective method of monitoring an alarm. To program a system for central monitoring, it is required to enter a primary phone number and an optional secondary phone number, client account code, set the dialer format and dialer attempts, configure all the dialer options, set test call intervals, and then test the dialer. Most dialer options are enabled by default, making setup times quick and easy. Dialer numbers are programmed in locations P70E and P71E. Simply enter P70E, then enter the telephone number to dial, followed by E. Repeat this for location P71E if you need to dial a secondary number. It is possible to change the order in which telephone dial attempts are made. By default, telephone number 1 is used for the first half of the dial attempts. If unsuccessful, telephone number 2 is used. Setting the option P87E 1E to on will alternate between telephone number 1 and telephone number 2. P72E is used to store the client account code to report to. This is used for area number 1 reporting. For area number 2 reporting, program in a client account code into P73E. The dialer format is set to contact ID by default. To check this, go to location P86E and ensure that 2E is selected. The option P87E 4E will set the number of dial attempts. By default, this option is set on, which allows a maximum of 4 dial attempts before a 5-minute sleep and 4 more retries if unsuccessful. Setting this option off will attempt to dial the monitoring station 10 times before a 5-minute pause and a redial. If the DX system is connected to a VoIP system, it may be required to activate options P87E 5, 6 and 7E to reduce the tone levels to dial out on a VoIP system. The DX system has a lot of options to select what is reported to a monitoring station and how the dialer will behave. Most of the common options are set as default for a typical home alarm. The system reports zone alarms, system troubles such as AC fail, battery and reporting of faults, reporting of panic emergency alarms, and checking for dial tone before dialing. Refer to the installer manual pages 38 through to 49 for detailed dialer options. By default, the system is set to report all zone alarms and zone restorals. It is also possible to report multiple zone alarms from individual zones, and the option P79E allows zones to be mapped to account number 2. To enable open and close reporting for arming and disarming the system, activate option P88E 1E for Area 1 open and close reports, and P88E 2E for Area 2 open and close reports. By default, the system automatically reports manual excluding of zones and automatic excluding of zones. To disable these options, simply disable the options P88E, 7E and 8E. A table of miscellaneous system messages is found on page 41. This includes things like duress, medical, AC fail and battery fail. By default, most of the common options are already selected. To enable or disable options, simply select the options in the table on or off. It should be noted that when activating voice dialing, these options are set to not report to a mobile phone number. These must be reactivated when dialing through to a monitoring station. Test calls are enabled by default, but to check, go to location P89E and ensure that the option 1E is selected on. The test call time interval and the delay to the first test call needs to be configured. The test call time interval sets how often test calls are sent to the monitoring station. By default, the delay is 168 hours, which equals 7 days. Test call time intervals are set in increments of 2 hours and can be set from anywhere between 2 and 198 hours. For example, to program daily test calls, press P83E and then enter 12E to set a 24-hour time delay. The time before next test call option sets a delay for the first test call to be sent by the dialer. This is also set in 2-hour increments, and by default the value is 6, which means a delay of 12 hours. For example, if you are programming the panel at 5 PM and would like to send the first test call at 1 AM, enter P84E 4E, which will delay the dialer for up to 8 hours. Once the dialer is programmed, test the system by arming in away mode, then trigger all zones to send a report. Also trigger panic alarms and duress buttons to make sure all reports are received by the monitoring station. The keypad will display a telephone icon when dialing and will flash the icon if a call fails or a dial tone is not detected. A manual dialer test can be performed at any time from user or installer programming mode. Simply enter P followed by the number 6 8 times followed by E to send a manual test report. To configure the system for dialing a mobile phone, set the option P86E4E to on. This will configure the system for audible voice format reporting and will send reports to a mobile phone via voice message. Voice dialing will dial a programmed mobile phone number and speak alarms to the user. Events designed for monitoring stations will be automatically disabled. It is possible to re-enable certain options such as AC fail or low battery to receive these voice alerts. By default, the system simply configures itself to send zone alarms to a mobile phone. All other options are set inactive. These options need to be re-enabled if configuring the system to dial back to a monitoring station. There are 2 methods to program mobile phone numbers into the system. The first method is to program numbers into locations P70E and P71E if a primary number and secondary number are needed. This can alternate reports between a primary and a secondary number the same as it would to a central monitoring station. The second method is to program a single mobile phone number into location P00E. This is called the Follow Me telephone number and overrides any numbers programmed into locations P70 and P71E. The Follow Me telephone number can be programmed in user programming mode, allowing the end user to change their mobile phone number or easily divert it to a different number if required. When the system dials a voice number, it will start with a message asking the user to press 1 for the system events. The system name is then announced, followed by the security report. At the end of the security report, the user then presses the number 1 key to acknowledge the alarms. If any additional alarms occur, these will then be announced after pressing 1, and the customer then needs to acknowledge the second report. Once all alarms have been acknowledged, press the star key followed by the hash key to acknowledge the call and hang up. Optionally, pressing the number 2 key allows remote control of the system to arm, disarm, or silence alarms. It is possible to assign a name to identify the control panel during an audible alarm. You can program the name from the choice below. Simply select P198E and select one of the options to select a voice tag for the system. This can be useful when multiple systems are dialing through to a single mobile phone number. To disable the dialer, enter option P86E1E. This will disable the dialer without changing any further programming. To completely clear the telephone number, enter into the telephone location and then press Memory E, or on the navigator keypad, press the Delete Phone Number button. If it is also required to delete the central monitoring account number, simply enter into location P72E and enter 0000 for the client account code.